Mir Usman Ali Khan Siddiqui, Asaf Jah VII. He was a great ruler who had contributed much to the city in various fields such as electricity, education, transportation, water and drainage, sports and agriculture. The Nizam obtained many titles, some of which include His Exalted Highness, Rustum-e-Dauran, Arastu-e-Zaman, Asaf Jah VII, Nizam-ud-Dawla, Nawab Mir Usman Ali Khan Bahadur, faithful ally of the British government and Sultan-ul-Ulum. He was one of the wealthiest people of all time and was also labelled as the richest man at the time and the fifth richest man in history. This was primarily due to the Golconda diamond mines and land revenues. Half of Hyderabad's finest buildings and monuments were built by him, which include Osmania General Hospital, Hyderabad High Court, Jubilee Hall, Nizamiya Observatory, Nizamiya Hospital, Mozam Jahi Market, Kachigoda Railway Station, Asaf Jah Library, Assembly Hall, Hyderabad Museum and many other monuments along with the Hyderabad House in Delhi. The Nizam owned many palaces like Chaur Mahalla Palace, which was the official residence of early Nizams, Nizam Palace, King Koti Palace, Falaknama Palace, Hillfort Palace, Chiran Palace, Saifabad Palace. Education was one sector which interested Mir Usman Ali Khan a lot. Almost 11% of his budget was spent on education itself. He donated to major educational institutions throughout India. Whether within Hyderabad, outside of it, or even abroad, he introduced many educational reforms during his reign. He also built the well-esteemed Osmania University. Hyderabad, during his reign, had its own currency and banking system. The currency was called as the Osmania Sikka or the Hyderabadi currency, which was used all over. His reign enabled Hyderabad to be a well-functioning state with an efficient civil administration, reliable communication and postal service.
Mir Usman Ali Khan is a king who came at a particular juncture in Indian history. See, Usman Ali Khan, that seventh Nizam, is into 20th century. Before him, actually we had Salajan reforms and modernity. 1857 is the cut point in Indian history. After 1857, there are a lot of changes happening in India. More modernity, a direct control of British. At the same time, in the princely states also, you can see the change. So wherever there is no direct control of British, the princes or the kings or the princely states, there the impact of British is seen, evident, because you have to gel with the whole dispensation of that period. So in that process, what has happened? First is Salajan reforms. It's not just Mir Usman Ali Khan we have to talk about. First Salajan reforms, then comes Mir Mahbub Ali Khan, who has contributed for this change, and then comes Mir Usman Ali Khan, the last Nizam of Hyderabad, who has contributed a lot in that sense, taking Hyderabad into modernity. So basically he is at a juncture. Very interestingly, in the due course also we can discuss about some things like he was very good, he was very bad. Wherever he is good, we have to understand his greatness or importance in Telangana's history or Deccan history is for some points. For some points he is not good because he is not pro-people, he is a feudal. So wherever the feudal struggle is there, so basically I feel that Mir Usman Ali Khan is definitely a king who has some important role to play in Deccan's polity.
The Nizam's rule was very successful until the time came when India was to get freedom from the British rule. His reign and the independency of Hyderabad state was threatened, and he had to begin analyzing everything in the nation. There were many negotiations rising up in the nation. The instrument of accession was one such call of negotiation put forward to Asaf Jah VII. At the time of independence, there were about 500 princely states in the Union of India. The British government told the princely states to join the two newly made dominions, India or Pakistan, or remain independent. Most of the princely states signed the instrument of accession, a call by the Indian government to join the Indian Union. Few did not. Among them, the three major princely states were Hyderabad, Kashmir and Junagadh. Mir Usman Ali Khan, the seventh Nizam, issued a farman stating that Hyderabad will remain independent because Hyderabad at that time had a population of 17 million with an area of 82,000 square miles. This led to the emergence of the Standstill Agreement. The Nizam sought to buy more time to think about the instrument of accession by getting into a standstill agreement for the next 1 year to maintain status quo. The standstill agreement was an agreement signed between the newly independent Dominion of India and the Nizam of Hyderabad to work together in close association and amity for the mutual benefit of both. After this agreement came into force, the Nizam issued two ordinances. No precious metal can be exported from Hyderabad. Indian currency will not be a legal tender in Hyderabad state. This transitory arrangement was misused and abused by the Nizam and Razvi to gain strength, to gain time to strengthen the state armed forces and Rajakar with modern weapons. With the atrocities continuing unabated, the Government of India issued a white paper on Hyderabad on 26th July 1948. In September 1948, the Nizam sent a delegation to the Security Council with a complaint that the situation between Hyderabad and India had become grave and constituted a threat to peace. It was now time for decisive action by the Indian government. On September 10, 1948, the then Prime Minister, Shri Pandit Nehru, issued an ultimatum. With great regret, we intend to occupy Secunderabad, and hence began the Operation Polo. Sardar Patel declared in the Constituent Assembly that Hyderabad had become an ulcer in the heart of India, and this ulcer had to be operated, and did not want to wait any longer. In the first week of September 1948, Patel called for a high-level meeting with Indian Army to explore ways to march troops into Hyderabad and take control as a form of police action. Unfortunately, Nehru was not in favor of such police action and even tried to delay the operation. But Patel, who was determined to resolve this issue at any cost, bypassed Nehru and gave the green signal to army to march ahead. In the early hours of 13 September 1948, under the code name Operation Polo, Indian troops started marching into Hyderabad. 2 days into the operation, Aurangabad and many other cities were captured. By the morning of 17 September, it was reported through railway sources that the Indian troops had reached Bibinagar and was well on their way to the capital. On day 5, with the Hyderabad forces being routed from all directions, the Hyderabad government under the Prime Minister Laik Ali resigned. The Nizam went on air and asked his remaining forces to withdraw. He banned the Rajakars and allowed the Union troops to occupy Secunderabad and Bolaram. On 18 September 1948, the formal surrender ceremony was held at 4 p.m. in which the Hyderabad army surrendered to the Indian Army.
The men under my command were called upon to perform this superhuman task and against very heavy odds. There was no alternative for me except to participate.
The police action ended. It saw also the end of the reign of Asaf Jahi dynasty. It signaled the end of the last resistance of princely states against the merger with the Indian Union.
The Indian state is expanding and becoming a strong state. In the process of becoming a strong state, either it has to win over the people or win over the territories with the military might. Winning over the people, actually, the question it can be answered in two ways. One thing, let's divide Hyderabad state into three divisions. One is Marathwada region, the second one is Hyderabad Karnataka, third one is Hyderabad, that is Telangana region. This Telangana region also, you can see in South Telangana, Mahbub Nagar, you don't have much impact of the peasant struggle, that is Telangana armed struggle. What are the areas? It is in South Telangana, some parts, and North Telangana. This is the area where communists were fighting. So winning over Telangana is one question. Second thing is, for Maharashtra, Marathwada region, and for the second one that is Hyderabad, Karnataka, government could have applied its own tactics, peaceful tactics to win over the people. They should have waited. If they would have waited for some time, Nizam would have crumbled upon his own weight. Because Nizam's position was very shaky by 1948. From 46 onwards, 48, it is not Sardar Patel who has made Nizam surrender. It is the armed struggle which made Nizam surrender. Sardar Patel was coming just after the finish of the real power of the feudal power, and when the rural areas are up against Nizam, then Patel came and fought directly. So it is, if they should have waited for some more time, not opting for that Operation Polo or military might, showing their military might, they should have waited. Already in the Hyderabad state, there is division. 2/3 of the areas are non-communist rights areas. So automatically they would have opted for Join India movement, like Ramananda Tirtha, who was the secretary of Hyderabad State Congress, was for Join India. Entire Congress is for joining in India. But Patel is like the, he loved the strong arm tactics. In a way, he is a builder of a strong state, and his personality and his attitude, and it was like that. You can read through the books of Kandansi Menon, who was the secretary. What he was doing, he was having two papers. One is letter of accession. If you are ready, just it will be put before you. Second thing is status quo. And he used to go to every principality and just take the signatures. And hundreds of principalities are there. They can't fight Indian state. Just happily they merged. But Hyderabad case is different. So my firm opinion is, this Operation Polo is definitely a military tactics which is undemocratic by Sardar Patel.
This was followed by a high-level meeting between Sardar Patel and Nizam Usman Ali Khan, in which Nizam assured that in spite of all that happened in the past, he shall now be loyal to the Indian Union and work in the closest collaboration with the Government of India for the benefit of his people.
This is the remote possibility. Number one, because Hyderabad is located at a strategically important place where it has to merge into India or to be independent. These are the only two options. No going into Pakistan. It's just wishful talk of some people, or a bad propaganda of the right wing. Even Nizam was not ready to merge into Pakistan. But it's not the question of joining Pakistan. So forget about this option. But the other two options, to be independent or in Hyderabad, in Indian state. See, the second option is very tougher thing. So for that, you should have understanding of what was happening during the last phase of this Nizam's rule. There was armed peasant struggle in Telangana. During this armed peasant struggle, what was happening? They were liberating the villages from feudalism. Almost 3,000 villages, 10,000 villages were impacted actually this entire period. Many thousands of villages were liberated from the yoke of feudalism. Almost 10 lakh acres of land was liberated from the hands of these feudals. So in this entire process, forget about it, India, Nizam. Now this is something else. This is the third dimension of Hyderabad. What could have happened if this revolution or this revolt, armed revolt of the peasantry in Telangana was successful? It would have been an independent state with a pro-communist or with a communist tinge of politics, not Indian state. But is it possible to have such things? You can't even think today. Because communists who were fighting Nizam first, then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel next. Actually, communists were fighting both. First they fought with Nizam. After 1948, Nizam surrendered. And with whom communists were fighting? They were fighting with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So till 51, Hyderabad state politics is communists versus Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's India. But basically, there are three dimensions in this entire period. One is Indian state. The second is Hyderabad, that is Nizam's Hyderabad polity. Third one is the peasant uprising. But peasant uprising, since it was the first of its kind in Indian history, So it is bound to fail because even the Communist Party was learning many things. So this is the angle we have to think, but not that whether it would not have merged. There is no possibility. If the possibility has to be accepted, so you have if the possibility was there, we are ignoring the strength of the Indian state, which is inherited from British. Indian state on the first day itself started helping other states also.
In this manner, the Asaf Jahi dynasty came to an end. What is comprehensible is the rule of Nizams was one of the momentous periods in the yesteryears of Hyderabad. It was a time of amelioration, prosperity and luxury. The saga of the city of Hyderabad is truly incomplete without the mention of the Nizams.